Welcome in, belly up, have a seat and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman fantasy football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 132, Week 14 preview, and it is my great pleasure to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing this very early morning, Mr. Bernie?
What time is it?
Don't worry about it. Don't look.
Oh, man. I'm about as reliable as those expert rankings we keep reading about.
Are those ours? Our rankings or other people's?
Oh, I would think we're novice. I don't think we're at the expert level yet.
Oh, okay. That's probably a fair assessment, although I like to strive for higher goals. All right, guys. In this show, we will set up the slate for the weekend's prime time games, check in on the player news and practice reports, check in on the activity of our waiver wire. We'll also go over this week's matchups, see who's on top of the newest power rankings. We also have our starts of the week. And it's my favorite Friday morning segment and should be yours. We have another edition of A Fourth and Long with Bernie. And this week, we're going to dive deep into what players need to have happen to make the playoffs or have the best seedings in this week's playoff watch. And we take a look at another Wingman Jam where we go over last week's outcomes and we set up this week's slate of our Wingman Jam teams. And we will also dive into the mailbag. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, let's set the slate for this week's primetime games. Actually, let's start off with saying this. Once again, we have a bipocalypse at the worst time for our most desperate managers, or the best time if you're playing against one of those teams that's missing out on some big-time players, as there are 6 NFL teams on bye this week. So we will be without Baltimore, Denver, Houston, Indianapolis, New England, and Washington. I see a lot of big-time quarterbacks going to miss out. Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson even, and Bo Nix. We'll leave C.J. Stroud out of this list. But nonetheless, we have some big-time. And Derrick Henry's going to miss. Oh, my gosh. Jonathan Taylor. We've got a lot of guys that usually help our managers are going to be out this week. All right, let's set the schedule. Well, before we get to that, I'm going to ask you real quick. How do these bye weeks affect you, negative or positive? Are you playing against guys who are out, or are you missing players?
Oh, I've got studs that like to disappoint, so I'm not missing them at all.
Okay. Yeah, this week I'm a clean bill of health. It was 2 weeks or week 12 that killed me, so this one I'm pretty good to go. The only one I'm missing is Javonte Williams. What am I going to do without that guy?
Oh, better. You're going to do better.
All right, now for this week's prime time games, let's start off with our Thursday night battle as we had the Green Bay Packers packing their bags for a road trip to the Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions, and that game took place at 8:15 p.m. The Sunday night game this week is LA Chargers bolting over to Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs at 8:20 p.m. And the last game of the week has a potential bonanza here as the Cincinnati Bengals are on the hunt for a season-saving win as they travel to Big D to take on the Dallas Cowboys at 8:15 p.m. Which of these games intrigue you the most?
Ooh, Thursday night, and it did not disappoint. So excitement on both sides of the ball. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that Thursday night game, we had Green Bay's trying to catch up in that standings as the Lions have the best record in the NFL. And spoiler alert, the team with the best record continues the same way on a buzzer-winning field goal. We'll get into more of that in our 2-point conversation later in the week, but just to let you know how late we actually are recording this. Okay, now for the players we had in that a Thursday night game. We had 10 players in our manager's lineup, starting off with Team B, who had Jamison Williams starting off in his lineup on the Thursday night game, up against Amazing Spidey, yours truly, who had Josh Jacobs in his lineup. We had another battle this time as they took our jobs, had Jaden Reed in his lineup. against the Fantastics, who had QB Jared. I wrote Goof here. I put 2 O's instead of 2 F's. Jared Goof in his lineup.
Lounge Spies, leave it a comment.
That was not on purpose.
King MVP George, Jared Goof.
King George put David Montgomery in his lineup and in her lineup rather, and kicker Brandon McManus in her lineup on Thursday night against Lion Eyes, who had a running back Jahmyr Gibbs in his lineup. In another battle, as Waddle Away had tight end Sam Laporta 1 week too late in his lineup against Crazy Fish, who had the Sun God Amon-Ra St. Brown in his lineup, paired along with his Lions kicker of Jake Bates. It's a lot of players on a Thursday night game. How many of these guys you think performed well, and how many think let their managers down?
Well, I think about half of them probably performed well. And that's without looking at who actually, what the scores actually were. But the running backs definitely performed well on both teams. So all three of them.
All right, guys, it is now time to get into some player news and practice reports. All right, starting off with our favorite team, Giants. I don't know why we have no skin in the game, but it just becomes a joke. Drew Lock has been named the starter, and Tommy DeVito, the Penguin, is set to be the second string quarterback. So he's going to be active. Well, at this point, he's expected to be active, but not be the starter. Well, I have Breece Hall on here twice, so let's get rid of that. Let's just skip him. Ladd McConkey. A little Ladd McConkey is expected to play this week, but he has been missing practice, or at least been limited, as he's dealing with multiple nagging injuries from his head, shoulders, knees, and toes, whatever that song is. Romeo Doubs missed the Thursday night game as he is still in the concussion protocol. Let's stop right here. So we have Drew Lock's going to start. Ladd McConkey he just tries to power through, but he is banged up. And Romeo Doubs once again missed the game with the concussion protocol.
Yeah, and Ladd's coming off of a big game last week, so hopefully he'll be okay for Friday, a full participant in Friday's practice, so he can get a good designation there for Sunday night's game. A good thing it's a night game. He'll have a couple more hours to kind of relax. Since DJ left the Giants, honestly, come on. Do we have to talk about the Giants anymore?
No.
Oh, wait, we do. Malik Neighbors is there. So hopefully Drew Lock could be a little bit more strategic getting Malik Neighbors the ball.
All right. I was going to say, you mentioned last time how Ladd McConkey, if he didn't get a little banged up, you thought he would have been the difference in potentially knocking you out of the playoffs 1 week earlier than it is now. Yeah. But you're right. He started off that game. I think he finished with he had either 12 catches or 12 targets. But 11 of those 12 came in the first half before he got banged up. He had 100 yards or 99 yards on 8 catches in the first half. He was on a roll before he got banged up there.
Yeah, he's playing good, man. Out of Georgia, just like Mr. Brock Bowers, man. These Georgia rookies are showing out.
Good call. All right, now we're going to get to our favorite team that has a lot of news here, the Las Vegas Raiders. Pardon me, Zamir White is still not practicing, and I don't know if they want him to. However, Alexander Madison has remained limited in practice for the Raiders. Last week was the same scenario, and both players ended up missing. Not sure if that will be the case this week or not. But we know Sincere McCormick has been signed to the 53-man roster. He can no longer go back and forth to the practice squad, as there's a limited amount of times you can send guys up and down before you either have to let him go or sign him. And they signed him. And we expect here on the show here, we expect to see a lot more of Sincere McCormick to close out the season and let those kind of retread running backs get a little more time on the sidelines. So, what do you have on? Let's just talk about these Raiders running backs real quick. I'm not sure if Madison's going to play or not. Zamir White's looking unlikely, but what's your excitement level for Sincere McCormick? He looks like a pretty decent back.
I think it'll be okay. I think he's getting in maybe a little bit earlier than what the Raiders wanted. I think he's still in a developmental stage. But I think he'll be okay. He'll be some rawness. I don't know if he's going to be a every game starter. It might be really situational. Abdullah's still there, and Abdullah's still going to, do what he does. So I wouldn't put him in a Sincere in as an RB2 quite yet.
Well, I'm wondering, so last year they had Josh Jacobs, who was perpetually banged up, but every week he was listed as questionable and literally didn't play the last 3 to 5 weeks. It was somewhere in that. It was longer than you thought. and Zamir White got all the carries at the end. I wonder if this is a different pedigree of players, but the same kind of thing. The guy who's the incumbent there, just kind of let him rest out with a half injury and let a young guy see what they can do for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of these teams that aren't making the playoffs should do, is let the young guys play to see what the kind of talent they have on the field. So,
all right, let's get to a couple players who are generally in our starting lineups. A couple Seattle Seahawks. DK Metcalf missed practice on Thursday with a shoulder injury. However, this is the same injury he played through last week. And he also missed a practice last week. So we're not sure if this is going to affect his availability on Sunday, but just to note, he is not at 100%. Also, Kenneth Walker, Texas Ranger, who missed practice as well as he deals with an ankle and calf injury. These are reported to be newer ailments that may affect his Week 14 availability. Let's talk about these Seahawks real quick, as I know you have Ken Walker, but probably you're planning on starting him if you had your druthers.
Yeah. So I got Taylor on bye, and now Ken Walker a little banged up. So this one is a little bit more concerning than DK. DK might just be a rest sort of issue. But this one with Ken Walker, I think, is a little bit more concerning. So I will be very wary if I play him, or I will definitely watch the news going into the game. But Zach Charbonnet, if Ken Walker does not play or is even limited at all, Charbonnet should be a good play for that game.
All right. I'm going to move one of these guys around here on our list here just so you're aware. So Trevor Lawrence was put on the IR as he deals with that shoulder injury and is also in the concussion protocol. And on the other side of that play there, Azeez Al-Shaair, his 3-game suspension was upheld. He did appeal it, but it's staying where it was. So just to let you guys know that that's the case with that player. Moving on to players who have not practiced this week or have not yet practiced, and we're really not sure if they're going to play or not. It's a little scary. We've got a group of, I think, 5 players here. We have Mike Evans has yet to practice this week. Breece Hall has yet to practice this week. Bucky Irving has not practiced as he deals with a hip and back injuries. And a pair of Bears, that's so fun to say, DJ Moore missed practice all week, and DeAndre Swift has missed practice. Both of those players with the Bears are dealing with quad injuries. So my question to you is, are these late in the season, guys who got a lot of work usually getting rest? Are we worried about them not playing? Let's just go through these one at a time. Do you think Mike Evans is going to play this week?
Oh, yeah, I think he's going to play if it's not something that is going to end his season. I think he'll play through it. He's got just over 100 yards per game for the rest of the games to get to his 1,000 yards. And he's missed a bunch of games, so he hasn't not had 1,000-yard season. So this will be the first one if he doesn't get it. So I think he'll play.
I agree with you there. I think this is a veteran's rest. He has stats he wants to go for. They're trying to make the playoffs. They need him. So it's going to be like if he really can't go, and we'll know that before the game.
Yeah, and I don't really think Mike is trying to get the stats. I don't think he's as concerned as more as his teammates and his coaches probably are. I think Baker wants to get him those stats. He
said it. He said as much. So yeah, Baker's definitely in tune with what he needs to get to keep that streak alive.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Breece Hall here, who missed those 2 days of practice. Do you think Breece Hall is going to play?
Ooh, this one's tough too. I think he might have a reduced workload, and if he does have a reduced workload, then it's Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis would see increased opportunities. And since the Jets aren't going anywhere, it might, even if he could play, it might just be a cautious, we're going to keep this guy for next year. Let's not damage the goods.
Yeah, I'm worried about him too, because last week he did play with the least amount of snaps he had all season because he was coming in and out of the lineup a little bit, and he did not look comfortable. Every time he went to the sideline, he was kind of, not limping, but just kind of holding his breath as he's walking around. So he didn't look fully healthy here. So he makes me a little nervous. I could see this one going either way.
Yeah, and it'll be reduced if he does play. So
right. Yeah. All right, Bucky Irving. You think this guy's going to play?
Bucky Irving, his status is uncertain. So Rachaad White and Trey Tucker, they're currently fully healthy. So this one is kind of linked to Mike Evans a little bit, I would say. If Mike Evans is not going to play, then Bucky Irving has to play. If Mike Evans plays, Bucky might not need to play because they got some good reps out of Sean Tucker earlier this year. So I don't see it having to push it. So same thing as Same thing as Brees Hall, but obviously on a better team that is trying to get to the division lead there because Atlanta is fading. So I would see him probably playing.
So, yeah, I think he's going to play because he's so important to that team. And he played through the injury last week and played well. I mean, obviously, he was wrapping himself up with heat pads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The thing did you notice when he got hurt? I actually saw when it happened. And I was very upset about it. So, who'd they play last? They played Carolina. Was that the Carolina game?
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe Carolina must have scored, whether it was a touchdown or field goal, late in the first half. And they kicked, like it might have been not a buzzer kick, but a near buzzer kick. So, they kicked the ball off at the end of the half. Bucky Irving was the one returning it, and he brought it out of the end zone and got crunched on a tackle. I'm like, why is he returning this? It's the last play of the half, and he got hurt on a play that didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got crunched and it wasn't like he bent back a knee or anything, but he hurt his hip or back because he just got hit hard on a play that didn't matter. And even when he caught him, I'm like, just take a knee, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. That's tough for those BS plays.
Yeah. All right, moving along to our Bears here. DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift. These guys are both dealing with quad injuries. Do you think these guys are going to play this week?
Ooh, DJ. No, I think that they might not play. I would say Swift has missed, both like you said. But Roschon Johnson has also missed both practices with the being in the concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Correct. So Travis Homer is currently third on their depth chart.
All right.
And, he could be considered looking at if you're in dire need for a running back situation. But the timing for this is really bad for whoever starts at running back. Or I'm sorry, it's actually pretty good because the 49ers are also dealing with injuries on their defensive line.
Right.
So this could be maybe a Travis Homer game. You never know.
You heard it here.
Yeah. And DJ Moore, though, definitely Roma Zunze is going to get a bump up, whether DJ plays or not. Either way, he's going to get a bump because Moore is, he's not 100%.
Gotcha. All right, we got two more players here. Cedric Tillman is still in the concussion protocol. We don't expect him to clear. He's kind of lingering in that. He's not really progressing here. I mean, there's still a couple days left, but usually by now they're getting at least a limited practice in, and he's still not practicing in the concussion protocol. And CeeDee Lamb, who got taken out of last game due to aggravating his shoulder injury, he's got a little extra time off as it was on Thursday last game, but he missed practice on Thursday this Thursday as well with that shoulder injury. So it's definitely maintenance. They play Monday night, so they have extra time. But with that Monday night game, you really have to have a backup plan ready to go in case he doesn't go. So do you think CeeDee Lamb's going to play? And if not, what would be your pivot as a backup?
So yeah, I do think CeeDee Lamb's going to play. He's going to want to be on the field. So I'm saying I'm going to lean towards yes, he's going to play. But Brandon Cooks, that's the guy.
Yeah.
If even if Lamb is on the field, Brandon Cooks should have a good game this game. So, and then as far as Tillman goes, consecutive missed practices makes him unlikely available for Week 14 with a concussion protocol. So Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore should see increased workload there.
All right, guys. It is now time to take a look at the activity of our waiver wire. This week, we had 9 waiver bids for 5 NFL players, and only one of those players got multiple bids. But boy, did he get a lot of bids for a lot of money. Our high-priced acquisition this week, our belle of the ball was, you guessed it, Isaac Guerendo. He went to Mac Daddy Tutu, who was keeping his powder dry, had the most money in his fab budget. He had $98 left. He used $94 of it to acquire Isaac Guerendo, beating out Lion Eyes. So I think he put $55, which might have been all of his money. I'm not sure, but $55. Amazing Spidey put a $45 bid in because he knew Kubert's Rage had 44. And that's the only person he could outbid, or the highest person he could outbid. So 45 from Spidey, 44 for Kubert's Rage, and $20 for King George. So 5 bids on Isaac Guerendo, $94. He emptied the wallet out for Guerendo, and he got him. He could have gotten him. There was no one who could have outbid him, and he put all of it on this one.
Yeah, that's the move. That was the move that everybody, all of the smart fantasy analysts were saying to do. Empty your wallet for this guy. So he did the right thing. He paid too much, I think, but he did the right thing. Everybody was going to do it.
I don't have the other budgets up. he has. We'll get to in the mailbag. But he asked me a question specific about this
Mhm.
before the waivers ran, so he knew how much he should bid. I didn't tell him how much to bid, but he wanted to know what his potential competition was.
Right.
So someone must have had $93 out there that he was considering. Had to worry about.
Did Fantastics buy anybody? Fantastics
No.
he's
No.
sitting at $87, and They Took Our Jobs is sitting at $85.
What about Waddle
I'm
Away?
sorry. Waddle Away had 93. Yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Yeah. So 94 compared to 55. I guess that's. I mean, you had the money, you're going to use it, but it's pretty safe to say that. What is it? Did I do it right? Let's see.
You paid too much.
All right, I forgot the button. We got it. All right, now our next acquisition here, also from Mac Daddy 2. So he spent $1 more. So he spent 95 of his $98, picking up the Jacksonville defense, and then he quickly cut them for another defense. So that was a wasted dollar. So in terms of my bids here, I had $48 left. I think I put all that I could afford over the next highest person, close to that range.
Mhm.
But I was like, even if I don't get him, which I didn't expect, I go from being middle of the range of people with their fab budget left to I knew a big chunk was going to be taken away. So now I jumped ahead of somebody who's in the playoffs to outbid them for other players that might arise during the playoff run. So it's kind of like I take the player, but I'm also cool keeping the money.
Yeah, very much so.
All right. Mac Daddy 2's the Jacksonville defense. Brandon McManus went to King George, who she put in her lineup on Thursday night for $0. I picked up the Tennessee defense for $0 and Tajay Spears for $0, who I quickly cut to pick up Cade Otton as my handcuff in case Mike Evans cannot go. All right, guys, now it is time to see who's playing who in this week's matchups.
This week's matchup.
All right, guys, this is the last week of the regular season, and there's places to go and people to see. The playoffs are just around the corner. We have some people trying to ensure they get there, and other people trying to ensure they can get the best possible path through that playoff run. Let's start off with this week as Michael's Amazing Spidey at 8-5 up against Bernie's Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
Who comes in at 6-7, still alive by the slimmest of hopes, but he is alive, and they got off to a decent start today, considering what he's looking to get. What do you have on this game here, Bernie?
Well, you've got Mike Evans and Breece Hall on your roster starting, so I like that. I don't want you to put Tua in because I think he is definitely going to get a big game there. So you keep him on the bench. That's great. But on my side, I don't even know what I'm doing yet, honestly. This is just like a temporary spot filler. I might start Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney because they have more of an upside than Geno Smith and Ken Walker. And I got to play the upside. I got to play the ceilings on all of these games because I need the biggest possible score.
Yeah, we discussed it last year. You're going to need like 150 points or so.
Yeah.
So I understand your boom bust, however you can determine that on your team. You might not have many options, but that's what you're playing for.
Exactly. So I'm either going to crazy beat you or I'm going to lose badly.
There was something else I want to say about this game, and I totally forgot. That's all right. We can move along here. All right. Our next game here is Reggie's Lions at 4-9 off the huge upset victory over our 1 seed last week. But this week he's playing against Katie's King George at 5-8. Both these teams are eliminated from the playoffs, but don't forget, we have a consolation bracket. We're playing for 7th place for these guys, and they are making their moves to see if they can get a first week bye in the consolation bracket. So what do you have on this matchup between Lions and King George?
I'm leaning towards Lionized on this. They was two Detroit backs, and they kind of canceled each other out. Jahmyr Gibbs on Lionized got 16.3, and David Montgomery 16.9 on Katie's King George. So
wow.
That's a wash. But I see Russell Wilson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba that just recently got picked up is in the starting lineup. Brock Bowers in the starting lineup. So I like what I see over on Lionized's team over here.
He's playing the Raiders tight end?
Yeah.
He's playing Brock Austin Bowers?
He sure is.
Yeah, baby.
And then
All
I
right.
see Bucky Irving on the other side, so I'm kind of worried about that. And also Jalen Warren, which I was high on, but after I saw last week's game, I'm not so high. I'm fading Jalen Warren.
Okay. All right. On to our next matchup here. We have Ken's the Fantastics at 3-10, holding down the basement, but he can still move up here, I think. Maybe not. But up against Alex's, they took our jobs, our point leader, but fighting for a playoff spot. He has not clinched yet at 7-6. What do you have on this matchup? Can the Fantastics spoil they took our jobs playoff run?
No, because it's the Fantastics, and he's just got really bad luck this year. He's got a good team. He's putting up lots of points, but whatever Alex puts up, or whatever They Took Our Jobs puts up, Fantastics will put up, 5 to 3 points less. And I think that They Took Our Jobs is going to have 4 to 5 gooses. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Well, he has a big bye with Derrick Henry out this week. That is a good start, at least in terms of
he does.
Who would he put in for Derrick Henry? I don't even know who he has on his bench.
He doesn't even need to, because Saquon Barkley's playing on his team against Carolina, so Saquon can put up points for 3 people again.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
I remember now what I wanted to mention about our game here. I saw your Jedi mind trick trying to talk me in or out of. I don't even know what you were doing. You're so confusing about Tua Tagovailoa over Kyler Murray. Like, I wouldn't play him. I would keep him on the bench because he's going to score more points. I don't know what the heck. You're wrestling my head, dude.
Oh, yeah. Tua's got a good game, man. He's got a good matchup. What's his name? Sauce Gardner is banged up. So, the corners on the Jets aren't looking that fresh right now.
That one's going to be determined if I wake up in time to make the lineup change after my nap there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. All right, let's move along here to this one's a huge matchup here, actually. Paul's Cubert Rage at 9-4 up against Corey's Mac Daddy 2 at 8-5. The winner of this game, based on tiebreakers that Mac Daddy 2's has, the winner of this game will win the Snap division and most likely, not necessarily, but most likely be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. So this is a huge game here. Paul can seal up the 1 seed with it doesn't matter their record right now. I mean, because if they tie, like I said, the tiebreaker goes to Mac Daddy 2. So the winner of this is definitely winning division and most likely going to get the number 1 seed. What do you have on this epic battle between these two top teams?
Yeah, this is just on paper, I would say I would lean towards Cubert's Rage. He is forced. His starting quarterback was Jaden Daniels, and he is on bye. So he is forced to play Mr. Famous Jameis Winston. Ooh. So it might be a big game. Even with the 2 interceptions returned for a touchdown, Jameis might throw 4 more touchdowns to his own team. So he's got Justin Jefferson. He's got T. Higgins. He's got some good players on the other side. So I'm leaning that way. I don't know if Mahomes and Kelsey is going to connect for Mac Daddy too.
Yeah, every time you talk, you make me think of something, and right when you finish, I forgot what I was going to say. What was the player you said before that? Jameis Winston. Oh, yeah, just a point here, in terms of our particular, the Wingman Fantasy Football League, we do not play with negatives. We think fantasy points should be positive. And so Jameis Winston does not get the hit that he might get in other leagues. So he's not worried. There's no harm in playing him. Go for it.
Yeah. And he's also, Mac Daddy 2 has Devonta Smith coming back for his first game back in his starting lineup. He does have Chase Brown, so he's going to get a lot of points there, and he's going to start Garendo. So we'll see.
All right. Oh, he is putting Garendo in. All right. That wasn't, I thought it was maybe a keep away move.
As of now, he's starting.
All right. Our next game, this one is just as big, not for the number 1 seed, although there's still potential to get a bye between these two teams. Jimerson's Red Sox Nation at 7-6 up against Ben's brilliant team at 7-6. This is pretty much win and you're in, lose and you're out. Although Jimerson's Red Sox Nation does have a way to backdoor get in the playoffs with a loss here, but Ben, with his points, cannot. He needs to win to get in or lose, and he's out. What do you have on this game between the surging Ben's brilliant team on a 3-game winning streak against Red Sox Nation?
3-game winning streak, but he's got Brock Purdy starting. It's a good matchup, but we don't know what's going on. He also has Swift and DJ Moore on his team, and we talked about them earlier. So I'm concerned about this, but Ben has shown us that there's nothing to be concerned about. He knows what he's doing, and he's going to get the job done. CeeDee Lamb and Neighbors is on the other side on Red Sox Nation, and they're also questionable. So we'll see. But he does have Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts against Carolina, he might say, you know what, Saquon, let me get a couple of these touchdowns.
Yeah. And there's a lot of big players in that Monday night game. This thing's going to come down to we're not going to know by the end of 4:00. There's some big time players in the later games on Sunday night and Monday night.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, this next one here, Andrew's Crazy Fish looking to try again bye and a division win up against Nick's Waddle Away, who mathematically is alive, but not only we need to win, but we need to outscore multiple teams by close to 200 points. That's why we called him a sad, sad puppy last time, because unofficially he has been eliminated. What do you have on this matchup between Crazy Fish and Nick's Waddle Away?
Well, he does have Jamar Chase. He does have Matt Stafford. He does have Devontae Adams. So he's got some big names here. I wouldn't be surprised that Nick puts up a good high score. But if Chase is going to get points on the other side, Burrow is on Crazy Fish, and he's going to do it. Now, Crazy Fish looks like he's going to actually start Braylon Allen, so he might know something that we don't know, and your Breece Hall might be something you might want to look at. But Marvin Harrison Jr., George Pickens, Juwan Jennings, these are all guys that are going to consistently put up 15, 16, 17 points. So,
all right. Yeah, that's going to be that Monday nights. They're going to be alive till Monday night, that Burrow-Chase combination. It's going to be one of those things like you're going to want Waddle Away is going to want Chase to get like 180 yards receiving and have Burrow get 220 yards passing kind of thing.
Exactly.
All right, guys. It is now time to take a look at our updated power rankings.
I have the power!
By the power of Grayskull.
I'm living in it, no one man to have all that power.
Wingman Power Rankings.
All right, let's take a look at our updated power rankings. The RSN index, starting with the bottom here. Ben's brilliant team has moved down from 11 to 12, flip-flopping places with the Fantastics, who's moved up to 11. And King George, like Bernie said last time, stuck like a bottom of ketchup at the bottom of the bottle, still at 10. Lion Eyes staying at 9, while Waddle Away remains at 8. Crazy Fish stays at 7. So not much movement on our bottom half of our power rankings here. However, the top had some movement here as Team B has moved from 5 to 6, and Amazing Spidey has moved from 6 to 5. Red Sox Nation stays in at 4. Mac Daddy's at 3. But the top has been, we have a new player on top, as Cubert's Rage is the top player in our power rankings, and They Took Our Jobs has now fallen down to the second spot in our power rankings. I want to thank Bernie here. First of all, Red Sox Nation, thank you so much overall for getting us the new index. But we had to do this one ourselves this time. We had to push this together the last minute, and I thank Bernie for helping me crunch the numbers at a last minute updating of the power rankings. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. So they might be off because I did not do good in my SATs on the math portion.
Well, just take them 10 times and you'll get one good score. That's all that matters. All right, guys, it is now time to go over our starts of the week. Bring it in. Take a knee. Who wants in?
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
All right, son, don't let me down. You're in.
Wingman Fantasy Football. Starts of the week.
All right, Bernie, don't worry about our past successes or failures. Let's just start from here. Who is your quarterback start of the week?
You know, we would think that we would learn our lesson, and I would say, like, Jalen Hurst is my start of the week, or I would say, I don't know who else is a good quarterback out there that's consistent. Matt Stafford is a start. Oh, no, not Matt Stafford. Never mind. Okay, forget that. Clearly, I don't know anything about quarterbacks. So my start of the week is Mr. Will Levis. Yes, Will Levis. Jacksonville pass defense ranks among the league's worst, allowing 286 yards. They're struggling in multiple areas. Pressure rate, they're 31st. They have inexperienced cornerbacks. They're just not a high quality defense at the moment. And the tight ends have exploited Jacksonville's defense all season. And Nick Westbrook-Ikhine has emerged alongside Calvin Ridley. So I see Will Levis getting a couple touchdowns to each of those guys.
All right. Yeah, that's a bold pick. The matchup's there, man, but he's just so dangerous. He's so dangerous.
Well, in his latest 4 games, though, he's shown improvements with 2 passer ratings above 120, at 127.4 and 123.3, and 2 solid outings. He's demonstrated, he's okay. He's not bad. He's got an 84 and 284 power rankings and the other 2. So he's getting better. He's getting better.
I definitely like the matchup. The only thing I'm a little worried about is if the Jacksonville Jaguars don't show up at all, if it's just a Pollard day all day.
That's true. There's a little pride over there in Jacksonville, though. A little pride.
All right, yeah. Let's hope little fight, just enough fight to make the Mayo Man go. Get one downfield.
Yes. Oh, and his deep passing ability is coming up. He's thrown touchdowns of 98 yards, obviously, 38, 70, and 27. So he's getting them down there. You know about it. You've got Calvin Ridley on your team.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I heard a stat of his, I forget the exact thing, but his last 7 touchdowns, something like none of them are within 15 years. Like he doesn't throw short touchdowns, or it's a 3 and outs or bombs that gets caught kind of thing.
Exactly. Boomer bust, baby. Boomer bust.
All right. Well, I'm kind of going the same way, so I'm not judging here. I probably should have picked the other quarterback on the side to be safer, but what the heck? We're going with Cooper Rush against the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, yeah, you didn't see my list yet, so you don't know what I got going on here.
No.
All right. The Cincinnati Bengals give up the 3rd most points to the quarterback position. And the thing that makes any opponent against the Bengals is that the Bengals can score. So the opponents have to keep up, and the Bengals can't stop them from keeping up. So these games tend to be 40-40. We saw Russell Wilson have a huge game last week. Whatever. So this is a good matchup. If Cooper Rush can get a halftime in the pocket, especially if CeeDee Lamb can stay on the field, he's going to have a fine day, is what I'm hoping for. So Cooper Rush is my quarterback start of the week. Who is your running back start of the week?
Wait. So now that's the right call to make right there, because Jamar Chase is like Jalen Hurts. It's like you don't need us to tell you to start them. Like,
right.
If you're clearly starting them if you've got them. So that's not what this segment's about. Okay.
Well, I did notice they took our jobs, picked up Cooper Rush, but he's not going to play him because he got Josh Allen. But nonetheless, he thought it was worth to keep him away from an opponent, maybe.
There you go. My running back, I have Mr. Isaac Guerendo, San Fran versus Chicago here. So obviously we know what's going on. McCaffrey, Mason injuries. Guerendo, just to give you a couple stats, he's 220 pounds. He's runs a 4.43. I'm sorry, he runs a 4.33 40. And he showed a little bit of promise versus Dallas with 85 yards on 14 carries. So it's unproven territory at the moment, but we like what we see. We're going to go forward with that.
All right.
And the Bears run defense has issues. They're allowing 139 yards per game, 3rd most since week 8.
All right. We will see if this $94 acquisition is worth it, because this is he's getting in the lineup right away for one of our managers who needs this win to get a payout. So let's see if you guys are on the same page here. All right, my running back start of the week. I keep saying 2 people. First of all, Saquon's going to have a day against Carolina. My gosh, but that was just too easy. So we're going to go with Alvin Kamara up against the New York. This guy, last year we had that one game of 5 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns on a 50-point game. He's due for one of those, man. It's been a while. You look like you're ready for that.
I'm ready for that. I'm banking on it.
So Alvin Kamara versus the New York Giants. The Giants give the 8th most points to the position. And with Kendra Miller, I forgot to put that in the news. Kendra Miller was activated today, or designated to return today. I don't know if he'll be not necessarily activated. So he is progressing. Whether he plays this week or not, he is coming back, but he won't be super ready or involved in the offense as he hasn't been practicing over time. So without Taysom Hill, without the receivers, without Jamal Williams, who's not playing particularly well, and Kendra Miller, who may or may not get on the field at all, Alvin Kamara is going to get all the work he can handle. And if he can survive the day, he's going to have a strong day. Alvin Kamara is my running back start of the week.
I like it. I like it a lot. Who is your quarterback again?
Cooper Rush.
That's right. And who's Cooper Rush going to throw to? A strong matchup for Mr. Brandon Cooks.
What?
With the Bengals' struggling perimeter defense, most fantasy points allowed to the outside wide receivers. Taylor Britt is the corner there, gives up 0.5 fantasy points per coverage snap with 21% target rate. So a high volume potential because of the games. He's attempted 40 plus passes per game so far. CD Lamb's shoulder could increase Cooks' opportunity. Let's get this thing going.
So I know your personal fantasy team needs not boom or bust. You need booms, but you're using your stars of the week in a similar fashion. Let's go boom or bust here. All right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, my wide receiver star of the week is not a wide receiver at all. It is our favorite tight end, our rookie tight end, Brock Austin Bowers.
Yeah, baby.
They're playing against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who give up the 6th most points. Is that right? I don't know if I updated this because I said the wide receiver position. Not sure if it's the tight end or wide receiver, but they give a lot of points to pass catching players. And Brock Bowers is the number 1 option for the Raiders. So that Brock Bowers is my receiver start of the week.
There you go. I like it. And if Jacoby Myers is limited, that's another just more passes to Brock.
All right, guys. It is now time for my favorite Friday morning segment, and it should be yours. It is time for another 4th and Long with Bernie.
This measurement could determine the Giants'
It is time for 4th and Long
with Bernie.
All right, what's up, fantasy fam? Welcome back to 4th and Long, where today we're breaking down how to dominate your fantasy playoffs like a boss. Mike, I see you over there taking notes. Good call, buddy, because this is the good stuff right here. And we have a visual aid. You can pause, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. So let's dive into 10 ways to bring home that championship trophy. And no, bribing the league commissioner isn't one of them. I've already tried. Okay, number 1, balance, baby. Listen up, because this is crucial. You want those consistent 20-point performers. I'm talking 3 or more players who bring it every single week. It's like having a fantasy football boy band. Everyone gets their role, and together they're making sweet, sweet music in your lineup. Number 2, pure, unadulterated talent. You need those nuclear option folks, players who can drop a casual 30, 35 points when everything else goes sideways. We're talking Lamar Jackson, Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases of the world. One of these studs can literally save your whole week. Number 3, opportunity knocks, and you better answer. Check out what's happening in San Francisco with CMC and Jordan Mason out. Isaac Guerrero could be the late season hero nobody saw coming. And hey, how about Aiden O'Connell? My man was a top 10 QB last week against Kansas City, and now he's got that sweet, sweet schedule ahead. Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Jacksonville, and New Orleans. That's looking good for Aiden O'Connell. Number 4, game script magic. Mike, remember when we talked about this? You want those juicy, high-scoring affairs? Teams like Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Dallas, they're like the nightclubs of the NFL. Points are getting thrown around everywhere. And speaking of Tampa Bay, look at their schedule. Raiders, Cowboys, Panthers. That's not a schedule. That's a fantasy buffet. Number 5, lineup decisions. And this is where champions are made. Yes, start your studs. We've heard it all. But listen up. Sometimes the wide receiver 3 or flex play is what saves your whole week. Here's an insider tip. Teams to target right now. The Jets and Minnesota both just lost starting corners to hamstring injuries in Week 13. In Cincinnati, they're giving up TDs to receivers like they're Halloween candy. 6 in the last 3 games alone, with 334 passing yards per game since Week 10. Number 6, exploit those weak matchups. Want to know which defenses to pick on? Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Dallas, Tampa Bay. These are your new best friends right there. Number 7, home cooking for running backs. This is science, people. Running backs at home, especially on winning teams, they're like gold. Why? Because winning teams at home control the clock. Their O-line gets extra juicy, and suddenly your RB is feasting. We're going to Sizzler, baby. Number 8, Vegas knows. When you see those over-under totals hitting 50 plus, that's not just a number. That's fantasy points waiting to happen. Track those totals like you track your ex's Instagram stories, obsessively and with purpose. Number 9, let's talk luck. Because yes, you need some. Sometimes your opponent's QB gets hurt in the first quarter. Sometimes your wide receiver's touchdown gets called back on a penalty. It's like fantasy karma. You can't control it, but you can sure benefit from it. And finally, number 10, momentum and consistency. You want to be that team that nobody wants to face. The team on a hot streak. The team making everyone else in the league say, oh no, not them. Because let's be real, that team that dominated all season but just lost their star player, they're not scary anymore. And there you have it, Fantasy Family, your blueprint for playoff dominance. Print it out, memorize it, get it tattooed somewhere tasteful. Just make sure you use it. Mike, what's your top tip for playoff success?
Well, my top tip is to get the WDK, as it gives you positional player rankings and strength of schedules. So go ahead and get that WDK next year to get ready for your fantasy league. Yeah. Cheap plug. All right, guys. All right. You can do it, man. It's all right. We'll be okay with that. So the playoffs are getting tight here. Do you know what you need to do to get into the playoffs this week, Bernie? You're going to need a lot.
Well, I think I need to win, but if I do win, I need to outpoint some people. Who do I need to outpoint?
So for you to make the playoffs, you're going to need to win. You're going to need They Took Our Jobs to lose. You're also going to need Red Sox Nation to lose. And you're going to have to outscore both of these guys, starting off with Red Sox Nation by 33 points, which is doable, not too big. But then you also have to outscore They Took Our Jobs by 88 points. And that is a tough road to crawl here.
Well, he's already got a goose going with Jaden Reed, so we're on the right track here.
Well, you did mention last show that you're going to need 3 or 4 30 burgers, and then you're going to need him to get 2 or 3 gooses, and it seems like he's along on his way as he already has one in the books.
All right,
yeah, you can do it, man. You're on your way.
Yeah, so what I see here now is a lot of 8 and 5 players. I've got 1, 2, 3 8 and 5 players. They seem like they're locked in. Is there any way that they could overtake number 1 at 9 and 4?
So all of our 8 and 5 teams,
Mac
like you
Daddy
said,
2, Crazy Fish, and Amazing Spidey are all 8 and 5, and the Cubert's Rage is 9 and 4, and he's sitting at number 1.
Yeah, so like I said, all the 8 and 5 teams have already unofficially clinched a playoff spot. The number 1 seed is up for grabs, starting off with Paul's Cubert Rage, who plays against Corey's Mac Daddy 2s this week. The winner of that game will be the 1 seed, and most likely, if Cubert's Rage wins, they are automatically the 1 seed. If Corey's Mac Daddy 2 teams win, he will be most certainly the 1 seed. There's a small chance he could get overtaken, but the winner of that game is definitely going to win division, get a payout, and most likely be the number 1 seed. There is still a chance, though, that Andrew's Crazy Fish could be the number 1 seed. He's going to need a lot. He's going to need to win, have Cubert's Rage lose, and still outscore Corey's Mac Daddy 2s by 78 points. So that's going to be a really tough way for him to get the 1 seed. That's what makes it pretty more likely that the Mac Daddy 2s or the winner of Mac Daddy 2s or Paul's Cubert Rage is going to be the 1 seed.
Right. Gotcha. All right, so in the Crackle division, we got Crazy Fish at 8 and 5 and Red Sox Nation at 7 and 6. And Ben's Brilliant team at 7 and 6. Can one of those guys take that Crackle division?
Yeah, all these guys actually have a chance to win the division here. Andrew's Crazy Fish is in the front here as he's a game up. So if he wins, he will take the division. Of course, he's going to need that help for a chance to be the number 1 seed. But really all you want is that number 2 seed to get a first round bye. As for Jimerson's Red Sox Nation, he is going to need to win to clinch a playoff spot. But to win the division, he's going to need to win and have a Crazy Fish lose, because he does have the tiebreakers over Crazy Fish. So he's going to need to make up that game with a win and a Crazy Fish loss. And surprisingly enough, Ben's brilliant team still has a chance to win the division. He would need to win, and he will make the playoffs with a win, but he can win the division with a win, a Crazy Fish loss, and a Crazy Fish loss. Yeah, because Ben's brilliant team has the divisional tiebreaker. So if he can tie Crazy Fish, he will win the division.
Red Sox.
So yeah, there's a chance for Ben to get this for sure.
Wow. Okay. So Red Sox Nation and Ben's brilliant team, they're playing each other now. The winner of that game, loser of that game, are they out?
Well, the winner is in, and the loser, if Ben is the loser, he is out. He does not have enough points to make to be a tiebreaker for a wild card spot. However, Red Sox Nation is not completely eliminated with a loss. If he loses but still outscores They Took Our Jobs by 55 points, he can back his way in. But like I said before, it's pretty hard to lose and then outscore another player by 55 points. But anything can happen. We'll just have to wait and see.
Gotcha. Okay. So then moving down to the pop division, Amazing Spidey is in the lead in that division. They Took Our Jobs is in the 5th spot overall. And we already know what I need to do to make it in. Is it possible for They Took Our Jobs to be completely out of the playoffs?
There is a small chance, the same way Red Sox Nation can backdoor his way in. So They Took Our Jobs to be eliminated from the playoffs. If they lose, Red Sox Nation loses. However, Red Sox Nation outscores They Took Our Jobs by that 55 points. If that'd be the case, then he would lose the overall point lead. That's the only way he would miss out on the playoffs due to tiebreaker.
7-7. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're both 7-7, so the points would be the tiebreaker. It would take 55 points by Red Sox Nation to outscore.
Yeah. Okay. So
They Took Our Jobs.
Yeah, he hasn't clinched. Okay. Is there a way for him to go ahead and take the pop division over from you?
Yes, he's got all the tiebreakers in terms of points and division records. So if Amazing Spidey loses and They Took Our Job wins, he will win the division and get the divisional payout.
And you lose.
Yeah, I would have to lose, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of people can win here. It's still a chance. There's a lot of money to be had this weekend.
So let me just do a little quick recap for myself and for these couple players here. They Took Our Jobs needs to win. Amazing Spidey needs to lose. And then They Took Our Jobs gets a payout for winning the pop division.
Yep.
Red Sox Nation needs to win. Crazy Fish needs to lose. And Red Sox Nation would not move forward. Well, it would be a tie in division record.
Yeah, he's got the tiebreaker in division record and points over Crazy Fish. Yep, you got it.
Yep, and then he could get a payout for winning the Crackle division. Yeah.
Yes, we got some movement to be had this week. Big weekend.
For everybody. There we go. All right, boys. Just win. Just win, baby.
All right, so you still got a chance, but you need to score a lot of
Just
points.
Call me
Big
Famous
boom.
Jameis, baby.
There you go. You can do it. All right, guys. It is now time to take a look at our last week's Wingman Jam before we look at this week's matchups.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. Detroit Lions, Philadelphia Eagles. Time to get on the field and tackle.
This game was so close, if only we had one more play. Eberflus, call the timeout.
I did it too early. Bernie wins. I forgot to leave that last tile up there. I wasn't doing that on purpose. Bernie did win. All right, guys. So that was our last week's Wingman Jam. Very close once again, Bernie. We're always within 2 points or less so far. But now it is time to get into this week's Wingman Jam. You won, so you get to pick your team first. Who are you going to pick, and what players are you going to pick?
Ooh, let me get my controller here. Let me just see what I got here. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna
take. Let me pick my team, and then you can pick your players here. I'm actually gonna go. I was debating, but I'm gonna go with the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, now that we have our teams, what players are you gonna put in this matchup?
Ooh, is this like Tecmo Bowl? Is Bo Jackson gonna be on your team?
Oh yes, I got the cheat code.
Ooh, so I'm gonna go ahead and just combine my players into one and make it Jamar Chase Brown.
Nice, I like it. I'm going to go with, I hope Jacoby Myers plays because I don't want to pick a quarterback. I like kind of staying away from him. I'm going to go with Brock Bowers.
Yeah, baby.
We're gonna run that into the wall. and then also Jacoby Myers. I just like the passing game here, potentially against the Tampa Bay Bucks. So we're going to go with a pair of pass catchers for the Raiders. Good luck to you, sir, and we'll see how this plays out.
Good luck to you, sir. Thank you.
And we won't know until we get to the Monday night game in that one. All right, guys, it is now time to take a look as we dive deep into this week's mailbag.
You've got mail. You've got mail.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Mailbag! All right, this first one comes in from Mac Daddy Twos, and he says, "Hey, Mike, what is the rules regarding players that are eliminated from the playoffs in our Wingman Fantasy Football League, and what's their availability to make waiver wire moves or waiver wire pickups?" So in our league, you are not barred from making any waiver moves until you are done for the season, which means you have no more consolation bracket games, no more playoff games. You might be playing for the top honors, but everyone's playing for something between 7th place or pride. So, and he asked me this because he wanted to know how much money to place a waiver bid on Isaac Garendo. So he had to see which players were out there. And we had a couple managers who were eliminated from the playoffs, put bids in for that player. So just in our league, you are not barred from making any pickups or waiver moves until your season is completely over. Like if maybe you're in the 5th, 6th place game or something, and you don't play that last week because that one's already been determined. So what do you think about the rules there of keeping all managers alive, even if they're not playoff bound?
Yeah, as long as there's a matchup to be had with them, I think they should have the opportunity to put their best team forward.
All right. Thank you. All right. So this next one comes in from Ken. Hey, Wingman, just want to give some thoughts on potential rule changes regarding rosters with IRs and spots and picking up players to block opponents from fielding rosters and so on and so forth. You mentioned that 9 of 15 players had to be certain positions. Anyway, so I'm just going to take it from there to kind of have a long message. So I'm just going to stop right there. And I said, I've tried in the past to pick up a second defense while holding 2 kickers and was asked to drop one of those extra kickers or defenses. Let me start with that last part first. I can't speak to when you're referring to. We've only had the IR for 3 years or so. So I'm not sure when that was. The first year,
I don't think he was referencing an IR with the kicker and defense. I think he was just referencing holding 2 kickers and 2 defenses on your normal roster.
Right. Like I said, you can only do that if you use an IR spot. So I don't know when this particular occurrence happened, if we had IRs or, if even we had IRs.
I think it was before we had IRs.
I think so too, but yeah. I can't say for certain.
Yeah.
I will say the first time we had IRs, I didn't state, that was the problem. I didn't state that the player on your IR was or wasn't part of your roster. And we had people not doing the way I envisioned it. And then I realized it was more work for me and other managers to say, you have to pick up a particular person to put in that spot. And I just kind of, the second year we did it, I made it where it was that unicorn bench spot because it was just too much to keep track of. Not everyone was doing it, and I didn't even know what the intention was, kind of thing. And since it wasn't stated, it was just kind of like if they're on your team. But I understand there. And if I told you to drop a second kicker while holding two defenses, I'm assuming that was before the IR, or at the very least, it was that first year of IR where it wasn't clear. I admit. So also, you mentioned that the 9 out of 15 players having to be a specific position. I actually misspoke when I said that. I was kind of speaking quickly. It's 12 of 15 have to be specific positions. I'm just going to run through it real quick just to be clear here. 2 QBs, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers are your minimums, and a combination of 3 special teamers, meaning kickers and defense, where you have to have at least one of each, and the third one can be either of the other. So then in that case, you would have leaves you 3 spots to play with. 2 flexes that can be running back, wide receiver / tight end, and 1 wild card spot, how we call it, which is QB, running back, wide receiver, or tight end. And then once again, and the way we're doing it now, and I understand there's just a point of discussion, that IR spot opens up an extra, a 4th spot that you can play with, and that one could be any position the way we did it. That unicorn bench spot is what I called it. It could be any position. So what are your thoughts on just the overall thing I just kind of went through there, concerns and or just understanding? And then I have an idea after that.
Nothing more or any further than we already discussed.
Right.
But my question still goes back to this kicker defense, just so it's clear for everybody, since it's the first time it's being brought up. Why can we not take the IR spot out of it altogether? Nobody's in my IR spot. Why can I not have 2 kickers and 2 defenses at the same time? Just curious, just so we have the answer.
No, that's fair, right? This hit me just the other day, like yesterday, like all of a sudden, like, I think I got the answer.
Okay.
Right. You don't get a chance to take advantage of that unless you have someone in the IR. Now the idea is, do you wait for someone to get hurt on your team, or do you purposely go pick up someone hurt to open up that availability, right? So my thought is, I think this is not an official rule change. I'm brainstorming out now, but I could see this going that way, and I think it might work. Getting rid of the IR altogether and adding a 16th roster spot, and everyone gets a unicorn bench spot.
Wait, but that's not my question. My question is, why can't we have 2 kickers and 2 defenses in this league?
Oh, it was just to diversify, to like kind of have a minimum of everybody, just kind of diversify. I get it. You could do that too. The wild card could be also as it is now. You can make the wild card include.
But you're not answering the question.
Okay.
Why can't we have it? It's just so we don't. So there's no hoarding of the kickers and defenses. So there's more options out there for people that want to stream.
Yeah. Well, we used to have 2 of each. For everyone would have to have 2 of each. And then just to make the draft go faster, we got rid of a roster spot. We used to have 16 roster spots.
Okay.
It was just because it's a spot that no one used, or wasn't well often used, and it added an extra round in our draft. So it was just a cut off 25 minutes of our draft, and people would say, let's get rid of kickers. It was like, well, let's get rid of half a kicker, kind of thing.
Okay.
It was just to be more efficient with roster size.
Gotcha.
Whether it makes sense in the end user here or not, that was the point of it, just to slim down the roster.
So it had nothing to do with actually having 2 kickers and 2 defenses. It was just to lose that extra bench spot, to lose the extra round in the draft.
Yeah, and I figured the kicker defense was the easiest thing to just say, we don't need that player anymore.
Right. But if I wanted 2 kickers and 2 defenses, because of the roster constrictions, I can't have them. I'm taking the IR out of it altogether.
Correct. I mean, yes, that was just the right. They had a limit and a max.
Gotcha.
For that particular positions had a limit and max at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was just the setting, but my thought was how some people get to take advantage of that unicorn bench spot by using an IR, and I'm like, maybe we just put that 16th roster spot back on, and if you have someone hurt, your roster's deep enough, you just hold on to them.
Yeah. I mean, that would appease somebody and some people in the league that have that concern. I think you should put all of those changes up for a vote, though.
Yes. No, any change is going to have
people that aren't leaving comments or speaking. They might like it.
Right. No. Nothing. I don't know. For the last several years, I usually do those July or August texts out there and kind of be like, I'm looking to do this, yes or no, and then we'll go from there and kind of like which way do we want to go with it from there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for it was a very long message there. I hope I got most of the points in there. I didn't want to go through everything. But I tried to address some of your some of your issues here, or just points you were making. If I made you drop someone that I'm assuming the rules were different years ago, and that might have been the case. If it wasn't, I apologize. And I could see some potential ways to get around, fix this for next time by just opening up another spot and not having to use a quirk, a quirk or a jerk for jerks on there. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. Thanks again.
Did CPG have a comment?
I didn't see one, but if you saw one, you go ahead.
Maybe you might have addressed it, where he was talking about the Cincinnati game and the
penalties.
Yeah. Did we?
I mentioned last week that our addressing of the question related to that game, and that's the game he was thinking about when he asked the question.
Gotcha.
So yes.
Awesome.
That's good. No problem. Way to close up, loose ends there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I want to thank you all so very much for watching another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. We've got a lot of payouts out there to be had and a lot of playoff movement to be done. So I want to wish all of you guys the best of luck. With that being said, don't forget you can find our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. Just search Wingman the League on those platforms. If you not sure if you want to watch or listen, you can find both feeds on wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. And if you want to watch our beautiful faces and the what's the word I want? The visual aids on our 4th and Long, go ahead and find our video content on our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. When you head over there, guys, please go ahead and leave a like. Why did that not play? Let's try that again. There we go. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. We'll get you in our next mailbag and address any concerns you may have. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And remember, we're all just temporary managers in this vast fantasy universe where every touchdown is both meaningless and everything.
Well said. Very philosophical. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.